This is the Defenders on TV Podcast Industries. We're back in the Spider-Verse with Spider-Noir, Episode 1, Step Into My Office.
Ruby once told me that with great power comes great responsibility. Well, she was the greatest responsibility I ever had. And I failed her. The spider failed her. After that, I didn't want the power or the responsibility.
Welcome back, fellow Defenders, to TV Podcast Industries. We are kicking off our Spider-Noir coverage with our chat all about Spider-Noir Episode 1, Step Into My Office. I am one of your hosts, Derek.
Ooh, babadoo, fellow Defenders. I am one of your other hosts, John.
A little bit of smooth jazz there for you, John.
Absolutely. I'm thinking of the Gremlins there.
I don't think anybody will get that reference. Even people that know the Gremlins won't get that little tiny moment of the jazz-dressed gremlin going, ooh, babadoo, to jazz.
Well, he's like the PI because he's got the hat on.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like, and then there's the kind of the singer. Wah, 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 wah,
yes.
wah,
Well, we have
which is less
watched,
jazz.
Yes, we've obviously watched Gremlins way too many times,
yes.
But we're not here to talk about a movie from 1984. We're going back in time, though. We are going back to the 1900s with Nicolas Cage.
Yes, the 1930s to be a little more precise. And whilst talking about another critter, I guess, in terms of spiders. But so, yeah, really pleased. This has come along, not out of nowhere as such, but at least, it's been getting some really good reviews. You know, we weren't entirely sure whether we would be covering it,
We
but
were
I
not
think,
going to cover it.
but I think once we saw just how well it was done, it's completely in the Marvel Defenders world of our podcast. So we absolutely had to sort of get into our Mac, put it on our hat, and follow this closely along the streets of New York or Dublin or our podcast.
Well, exactly. Yeah, we had chats about whether we were going to cover it while we were discussing Daredevil, and then The Punisher was coming up, and we knew we had to talk about The Punisher because it was apparently going to be connected to Daredevil. Then with the disappointment of The Punisher, we decided to check out the first episode of Spider-Noir and went, hang on a second, this is way better. So let's talk about some Marvel that we really like before we get to Spider-Man. You know, the reason why we were covering Punisher was because we covered Daredevil and Punisher is going to be in Spider-Man. Well, at least we have something in the Spider-Verse that's genuinely good fun that we wanted to watch and want to talk about. So I know we're a little bit late. They dropped all 8 episodes as a nice big surprise for everybody.
Surprise!
Which was one of those reasons that we went, well, maybe we can't cover this because it's all coming out in one day, or maybe they've just dropped it on Prime Video and all in one day. But it turned out that it wasn't for any reason other than it's really good and everybody wants to watch it. So
and it's got a great cast as well. And, you know, it's got Nicolas Cage, who, you know, let's be honest, can blow hot and cold, but certainly he's blown hotter for me more than being chilly, shall we say. And I think this is a good hot Nick Cage. I like his tempo and tone in this so far. And of course, the great Irishman Brendan Gleeson as well.
The lovely Brendan Gleeson. Don't be coming at me with your guns.
Really good, a really good little portrayal of kind of that kind of gangster in New York. So really enjoying his take on Silvermane.
Brendan Gleeson is one of our best actors. If you haven't seen In Bruges, I will recommend it once again. Go see Colin Farrell, who was in The Penguin, and Brendan Gleeson doing a top class performance. The two of them together, absolutely brilliant, and with Ralph Fiennes as well. 3 great actors doing 3 great performances in an excellent
movie. Really good. And then weirdly recognizing the actor who plays Winston as Lucas Haas, who was in one of my beloved films, which is Mars Attacks, as the young kid actually in that. And then latterly he was in Inception as well. He's kind of taken off the table in Inception quite quickly from the helicopter. But yeah, I really like Lucas Haas. I've always kind of taken note of him, and it's mainly because I absolutely adore Mars Attacks.
And I think he was Oscar nominated for his first performance in Witness.
Yes, Witness,
yes. Harrison Ford, yeah.
Exactly.
I think that was his first big one. And interestingly, another actor who's arrived here, you may recognize Carrie Christopher, who plays Frankie, the kind of street urchin. He was in Weapons last year. He was one of the central kids in, was the central kid in Weapons last year, and really good, funny performance in the background here, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know whether it's just to do with the clothes that he's wearing of the time, but it's like he's a miniature adult. It's so bizarre to think that he's probably about 12, maybe something like 14 that, or something like that. But he kind of looks like an 8-year-old who is actually an adult. He's so weird.
Yeah, he's playing that kind of Artful Dodger, Oliver Twist kind of role. You know, you think he's really innocent, and then he's picking your pocket as he goes by, which I think is really funny. Or two,
in fact.
Some great other cast members in here. I'm sure we'll talk about them all as we go into the show. Some brand new people to us. Karen Rodriguez playing Janet is really good fun. Lee Jun Lee playing Kat Hardy is an excellent foil for Nicolas Cage in the show. She's been great fun. And Jack Houston stood out to me. He plays Flint Marco in the show. Here, Jack Houston has done loads and loads of movies and TV shows over the past, but the reason why you might recognize him is that he's the nephew of Angelica Houston and Danny Houston, who are two great actors. So you'll recognize a little bit of their face in his face.
Yeah, I didn't really. Probably the mustache in the end.
Might be. Angelica Houston does keep her mustache on check,
or his sandy complexion.
It might be his sandy complexion.
Yes. But with that, and before we get into our spoiler-filled review, fellow defenders, just a reminder of how you can get in contact. Firstly, you can get access to everything over on our website at tvpodcastindustries.com. And of course, you can subscribe to the podcast over there on any good or evil podcast catcher of your choice. We have been the home of Marvel for over 10 years at this stage. We love to get your thoughts, feedback, theories, inputs, and observations on all the shows that we cover. And Le Spider-Noir is not an exception here. So please send in your thoughts to feedback at tvpodcastindustries.com, or you can leave a voicemail over on our website, or you can join our Facebook group over at facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industries.
Yes, there's a spoiler post up there for each episode of the show over in our Facebook group. There's a spoiler post also on our Discord. You can get the details of Discord on the show notes for this very episode. The intention is that we'll release 2 podcasts a week. So if you want to send in your feedback for episodes 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, we'll read them out on the podcast. We will be recording each episode separately. So whatever way you want to send them in, you send them in. But just mark them, because all episodes came out at the same time. Just mark them if you're doing a review of the full season or your thoughts on the full season. We'll keep those to the end as well. We are not doing a pub quiz for Spider-Noir because, hey, it's Prohibition, so there were no pubs back then.
Yes, we're not doing a sarsaparilla quiz either.
No. I know everybody's drinking quite liberally in this show here, but Prohibition was in place, so Prohibition pub quiz. But we're not doing one this time.
No, exactly.
Really, because there's 2 others out there. There's the pub quiz for The Boys final season, which is still open at the moment, and the pub quiz for Daredevil Born Again season 2. Both of them still open at the moment, so you still have time to send in your thoughts and answers for those 2 pub quizzes.
Yes, indeed. But let us get into our spoiler-filled discussion of Spider-Noir, Episode 1, Step Into My Office. Derek, who gave us what, where, when, and how?
Well, the showrunner for this show is Oren Uziel. He worked with Lord and Miller on 22 Jump Street and then delivered the Cloverfield Paradox and the story for the 2021 Mortal Kombat, the sequel of which just came out in the cinema this year as well.
Very good.
Yeah, but he's been very busy working on Spider-Noir, so I don't think he contributed to the second movie in that series. The executive producers for the show are Harry Bradbeer, Oren Uziel, Steve Steve Lightfoot from The Punisher and Hannibal, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who of course did the Spider-Verse movies, Amy Pascal, Aditya, Sood, and Dan Shear. This episode was written by the showrunner, Oren Uziel, and the episode was directed by Harry Bradbeer. Now, he did the first 2 episodes of the show. He started out in the BBC and the UK directing shows like This Life and Killing Eve, and also directed both seasons of Phoebe Waller-Bridge's Fleabag.
Ooh, sexy priest.
Yes, exactly. But apart from the pilot, weirdly, he didn't direct the initial pilot for that show. He directed every other episode of the show, though.
Interesting.
So very, very cool, though. Really good show, and a fantastic director there. Recently, though, he's been working on Enola Holmes, starring Millie Bobby Brown and Henry Cavill. He did the first directing of the first 2 movies in that series as well. I don't know whether he's directed the third one, which is coming out this summer. I didn't see that, but he did direct the first 2 anyway.
Excellent. I think I've only seen the first one.
Yeah, I think I'm the same.
Which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, it's good fun, wasn't it?
So I'll have to get into the old second movie there of Enola Holmes, because I do quite like Sherlock Holmes in the end.
Well, absolutely.
And expanded universe, as we would say now.
Henry
Sherlock verse.
The Sherlock verse, yes. But it is they're kind of odd movies to put out in the middle of the summertime. They seem more dirty and grimy, like a winter one. So we need to watch them over the winter period, maybe, John.
Yes. Yes.
I just want to call out for this episode, the director of photography for the series is Darren Tiernan, who's an Irish cinematographer. He directed 2 seasons of Perry Mason and also The Penguin for HBO, which we covered here. He's the cinematographer on that. And director of photography for Star Trek Picard, Westworld, and American Gods. So loads of shows we've loved. He's been behind the camera and the setup for it. The real reason I'm calling it out, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, as we get into our points, is because this show has the choice to watch it in black and white and in colour. It was his job to set up the look of the show for that photography. There's a fantastic interview between the showrunner, Oren Uziel, and Darren Tiernan about how they set up the show. They were contracted by Prime Video to do the show in black and white. That was the agreement going in. And then the decision was made to do it also in colour. And suddenly it was a big ask. They were filming every single scene and making sure that it could work in both colour and black and white. So where you have a director of photography coming in and going, well, these colours would look amazing in black and white. You have these bright puke coloured walls over here, and then suddenly the colour camera comes on and they go, oh, that really will not look good. Those colours clash differently. So you've
really got to get that contrast, haven't you? I mean, you can get greys, but it's even in this first episode where you see Flint Marko following Ben Reilly down one of the alleyways, and Ben is in black, but Flint Marko is in this bright white tuxedo, and even in colour, and you're just thinking, yeah, you're not very conspicuous really there, are you, Flint, in your white tux? But that's the contrast required for black and white. So that's really interesting.
And weirdly, though, isn't there a moment where he asks the kid, is someone following, a guy in a white suit following down the street, and weirdly under the lights of the bar that he's passing by, it looks like he's in a yellow suit. But the reason why I mention this is because I know loads of people are saying they're only going to watch the show in black and white. And when we watched it initially, I was going, yeah, that's the way to watch it. It feels really good in black and white. The contrast is fantastic. The scenes are set up like that. Now, having watched it twice in both black and white and in colour, there's merits to both.
Oh, definitely.
They've done such a good job. And I would tell you right now, one of the characters, Robbie Robertson, do not miss his outfit in black and white. He looks like he's in a grey suit in colour. That orange suit is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So cool.
That was a nice little reveal when we watched it in colour, for sure.
Yeah. And there's even a scene, I think, with Kat Hardy and one of the costumes that she has on, where everybody's telling you that the costume looks amazing. And in black and white, you're going, yeah, it probably does. In colour, you know that their style is completely off. The outfit that she's wearing looks awful. And that's on purpose. So you would miss that if you're watching in black and white. But anyway, John, tell us what we did get with your synopsis for Spider-Noir, episode 1, Step Into My Office.
Sure. In the 1920s, private investigator Ben Reilly once operated as the vigilante The Spider, but retired after his fiancée Ruby Williams died. In 1933, Ben and another PI, Donegal, are hired to find a criminal, Jimmy Addison. When Addison reveals he can set himself on fire and threatens the PI, Donegal shoots and kills him. Later, Ben Reilly is hired to investigate nightclub singer Kat Hardy for infidelity by a man named Carmody, claiming to be her husband. Tracking her to the Red Cliff Hotel, Ben uses his webbing to discreetly stop Kat's supposed lover from assaulting her. While studying the photos he took, Ben and his secretary Janet discover that Kat's companion is Mayor Alfred Morris. Unsure about the reasons for the case, Ben decides to drop it. Another bombshell hits Reilly when he and Donegal learn that the man who hired them to investigate Addison, a man called Winston, is the right-hand man for crime boss Silvermane, whose mansion was burned down by Addison in an attempt to kill him. After learning the police recovered Addison's body, Donegal wants to further shake down Silvermane for $1,000 for the information on Addison. Reilly advises him against it as he heads to the Alcove nightclub to try and make some money out of his photos and blackmail Kat Hardy. Elsewhere, knowing that Addison is dead, Silvermane tortures and kills Donegal to get information on Addison for free, while Kat sends her bodyguard Flint Marco, a man able to turn his body into sand, after Ben. Ben decides to abandon the blackmail after learning of Marco's condition, but the next day, Kat arrives at his office and hires him to investigate the Sandman's disappearance. Dun, dun, dun. So we need that kind of sound effect.
We probably do, but I don't have one of those. But what a great intro to this world. How difficult was it for you to mispronounce Donegal?
Exactly.
It's so tough, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm wanting to pronounce it like Donegal, which is, one of the counties in the northwest of the country.
Yeah.
But everyone's saying Donegal.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really interesting, but it's kind of a nice touch, I reckon, around sort of that migration from Ireland into New York,
100%,
through Ellis Island.
Yeah.
Just because he probably says, I'm from Donegal, and so they call him Donegal.
Yeah, he probably said, I'm Pat from Donegal, and they went, his name is Pat Donegal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think, just to make the commentary, it is definitely in there with the mispronunciation and referencing the immigration of Irish people to the US. And you know that because you have someone like Brendan Gleeson, who is an Irish actor. You've got Nicolas Cage, who has a lot of connections to Ireland. And you do have the director of photography, Darren Tiernan, all Irish people involved in the show. So they know if someone was pronouncing it incorrectly on the show, they would be corrected, right? So
yeah,
it's being pronounced that way for a specific reason. But it just doesn't roll off the tongue very easily, unfortunately.
It doesn't.
But John, will we get into our points of note for the episode? This time, because it's in the Spider-Verse, we got our web shots, right?
Yep. Let's get into our web shot number 1.
That's quite satisfying, isn't it?
It is, actually.
Yeah, I like that. Our web shot number 1. This is going to be a really quick one. It's just a commentary.
Does he fire it out of his ass?
A different movie.
Yeah.
That was Multiverse Madness, wasn't
exactly.
it? Yeah. But no, he doesn't in this case either. He does it out of his wrists. But our web shot number 1 is just about the film noir tropes, because this is absolutely based in the world of film noir, as everybody knows that the character's called Spider-Noir. But just a kind of a mention of the fact that they do give you the choice to go black and white or color, but the black and white styles are definitely the old Humphrey Bogart movies, The Third Man, stuff like that from the 40s and 50s,
Yeah.
30s, 40s and 50s,
Yeah, absolutely. The detective noir tales, classic tales that have, the private investigator, certainly a hard drinking one. And we certainly see, a good amount of drink being drunk.
Absolutely.
Whether it's at the office or in the club when there's prohibition. So yeah, it's really got a lot of those nice little film noir tropes.
Well, absolutely. I looked up the top tropes, John. That's why these are listed the way they are on here. And the top tropes of a film noir are a hard drinking detective. Check. He even gets his coffee cup Irished up a bit with a bit of whiskey in it. They have the femme fatale, who I would presume is Kat Hardy here, right?
Yeah.
They have the moral ambiguity. So who's positive, who's negative, who's right, who's wrong, who's on the side of good, who's on the side of bad. Everybody out for themselves. crime and betrayal, of course. There's lots of crime in this, lots of betrayal. You don't really know who's in the right and who's in the wrong. The Haunted by the Past, which is the opening scene, really,
absolutely,
for the show. And then, of course, the Rotten City. So he even comments on the fact that in New York, you can't trust anybody, right?
Absolutely.
So,
and a rabbit. It's like Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
I don't think there was a rabbit in the actual
But it
film
sounds like Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah. Also a great film noir.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah. Or very colourful film noir, but yes.
Yes, or Sin City.
Yes.
So, yeah, loving these tropes. Have quite a fondness for the film noir tropes,
Definitely.
to be honest.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, it's kind of nice, isn't it? Because so many times it's like a take on film noir, a type of film noir. You know, you mentioned Sin City there, which was harkening back to it, but was very brutal and very violent, and definitely of its Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez kind of era of movies. It was really brutal, and of course based on the Frank Miller books, which are very brutal, but a take on film noir rather than a film noir. Whereas I think you could actually sit this back in those days right alongside the other film noirs.
It's more, I would say, in keeping with the film noir, but I think film noir, is really good in itself, and I think Sin City, the sort of changing it up, you could argue Jessica Jones as well.
Yeah,
in terms of that opening sequence and the type of music that you get there.
Without a doubt.
Certainly, it's a hard drinking femme fatale who has moral ambiguity, is haunted by the past, lives in a rotten city, and there's a lot of crime and betrayal. That's Jessica Jones. So, really good to get the old film noir back in the Marvel universe.
Wouldn't it be cool if Ben Reilly and Jessica Jones met up at some point in the future? That'd be cool.
Yeah, or maybe he just calls someone JJ. Yeah,
maybe.
Just because I doubt Sony would be able to use Jessica Jones, but who knows?
There's a multiverse out there, John. The Spider-Man and the MCU do cross over.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
You never know. That is our first web shot, though. Let's move on to our second web shot, John.
Yes, better to burn out than fade away.
Yeah, so we mentioned...
Don't re-record, not fade away. That kind of thing. So,
kind of. Well, we mentioned the things that are very similar to film noir. The big thing that is very different is, of course, that there are superpowers in this world.
Yes.
So we know of the Spider. We saw him in the opening scene. We know that that's Ben Reilly here in this world, but we do have another superpowered individual that appears very quickly in the show.
Yes, I like this reveal with James Addison. I like that we see him lighting up his hands, not in the most appropriate of places, but again, I think Standard Oil. I think that's harked back to one of the big American monopolies of its time, which ultimately got stripped of that monopoly. So I think you got like Chevron and all that kind of split, and Standard all split out of it. So again, another little sort of nod to that sort of monopoly era as well. Where
Rockefeller, wasn't it? Was Standard Oil.
Yeah, well, it was Rockefeller, and I think then you had the president come in and basically split these companies up because they were effectively monopolizing the markets.
Oh, like they're going to do at the tech firms.
I guess so, something akin to that. But but it's interesting you get that here with James Addison sort of setting fire to himself, effectively threatening Donegal, who has him cornered and a gun pointed at him because of the case that he's been given. And bursts into flames, is walking towards Donegal, who's been paid to, track him down and find him. He has found him, but he shoots Addison because he hasn't seen anything like this before and is afraid for his own life.
To him, it's like some alien has just arrived, and he's just shooting him constantly, so pulling the trigger until it goes click, basically.
And it's really good because we have here as well, Ben Reilly has also been asked to track and find James Addison. I like that he's kind of done the hard grunt of tracking him to this club, asked the lady next to him, do I have a match here? And she goes, I think we do. But as he comes out of the club, actually Addison knows that he's being followed by him, but Ben Reilly gets knocked down by Donegal, and that's how they ultimately meet here. But I like the Spidey tingle that Ben gets here. It's very pronounced. in a lot of the sort of more recent movies and so on, it's kind of seeing the hairs rise on the back of their neck or on their arm,
or goosebumps,
or goosebumps. This feels much more kind of physical,
yes,
for Ben Reilly. But I
think
quite
he plays it off as a migraine a couple of times. Doesn't he?
I quite like this different approach to the Spidey tingle, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely, and I also love the pitter patter of the dialogue. We can mention it at any point really in the episode. It's so well written. That moment when he shows the photograph to the lady beside him, and she goes, "You got a bingo," when he identifies Addison, and then she goes, "Hey, you married?" Thinking he's a good-looking guy, and he goes, "Now I'm questioning your eyesight, love."
Yeah, exactly.
So, really good little pitter-patter between everybody in the show. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I just wanted to point it out as well, that the tingle that Ben gets, he gets when he's standing over Addison's body in the morgue when Robbie's with him.
Yes.
And that's a really weird moment. There's no explanation for it for me. All the other stuff that when he gets the tingle in the show, it's usually warning him that someone's about to attack or that something's going to happen to him in the future. But he's standing over the body of Addison, who he knows had these torch powers, had these fire powers, and he's already dead. So I was wondering why he was getting it at that point in the morgue.
But he gets it before as well. So I think it's to do with the fact that they are also superpowered, like himself. I don't know whether he connects the dots necessarily with Flint Marko, but he has it in the presence of Flint Marko.
He does.
In the alcove. Yeah. So I thought that Spidey tingle was almost leading him down the path of identifying other superpowered individuals,
maybe, yeah,
as well as danger.
Yeah.
So that I thought that was quite kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And so that's why I feel it went off in the morgue as well.
Yeah, I just thought it was unusual that it was over the body in the morgue. Understood why it was happening when everybody was alive or when he was under threat. But just make a note of it for later. That was all.
Yeah, or it's, at the end of the day, it's maybe just the sense of danger, because what he does find out in the morgue is that Addison has been identified. Mm-hmm. And so, he said, I need to find Donegal because they're both trying to shake down this same person who has effectively given them the case to track Addison down. Yeah. Yeah. And so, I quite like this ever increasing amounts, but we hear that Ben Reilly was offered 30 by Winston. Mm-hmm. Donegal was offered 50. Yeah. Then Ben Reilly's going, well, if they need any information, I'm just going to say they'll need to give me 200. And that's what he says to Winston later on. Yeah. And because both Donegal and Reilly know that he's dead, Donegal wants to do an even bigger shakedown of Winston and ultimately Silvermane by saying, well, I'm going to ask for 1,000, which doesn't end up...
That would be a lot of money. Yeah.
Which doesn't end up too good for Donegal, but I do like, as you say, just these two PIs being asked to investigate here. Yeah. Spreading the bets, I guess, was Winston.
Well, exactly. And also a really cool first other power to see in this world here, seeing the kind of new first Human Torch is what I called it, because the Human Torch, the one that we know most well, I suppose, is the one that's in the Fantastic Four. But before him, there was an android in the Marvel Universe who was in the Invaders and the Defenders, the original group back in World War II. So he was alongside Namor, and I can't remember the other members, but I do remember Human Torch and Namor about being in that team. And here we have another Human Torch potentially beforehand. So I thought that was kind of cool to have. The visual of someone on fire is definitely cool in black and white and in color as well. So cool stuff. Let's get on to our third web shot, John. It does sound like he's opening a bottle, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
So our third web shot is the infidelity investigation, because this brings in our other major character, Cat Hardy.
The classic case for film noir. Yeah. We have Jessica Jones doing the same kind of work. Mm-hmm. in the Marvel Netflix show.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like we get this kind of massive infidelity case and trope from the detective.
Absolutely.
Noir.
Yeah, and it does feel like this is Ben Reilly's bread and butter, doesn't it? Because early on, again, talking in the bar with the woman who's chatting him up, saying, "I've got a husband, but it never stopped me having fun." And Ben looks at her and she goes, "Do you catch my drift?" And he goes, "Yeah, I do. And if your husband catches your drift too, tell him to give me a call."
I must say, but it is really good here. The Mr. Carmody who comes here to ask Reilly to follow his wife and for the new case. But yeah, I love just the look of Nicolas Cage, which is like, are you a rich man? No. Are you a witty man? Huh? So clearly a man who is batting above his average, if it is even legit. So I love that this, irrespective of Tingley's spider senses, immediately has the suspicion of Ben Reilly with this case. However,
he doesn't even turn the photograph of Kat towards Janet, and Janet's going, "There's no way."
Absolutely. But he does have to take it, because we do kind of get the sense here that whilst this may be the type of case that is his bread and butter, he hasn't necessarily been doing very well on the business front for B. Reilly Investigations as a business, as we have Janet saying, we need to keep some of these cases. You kind of, I like how you get a series of cases really just not really going anywhere in this first episode, even just because of what's happened to Addison and ultimately with Carmody. But we get told by Janet that her phone is increasingly becoming a paperweight
because he can't pay the phone bill.
Because he can't pay the phone bill. Even Carmody comes in and says, "I tried calling you, but there was no answer." And you have Janet really kind of stepping up and saying, "Well, Mr. Reilly does prefer to conduct business face to face." So yeah, she is a keeper. I really enjoyed Janet here. Yeah.
And Ben does go out and follow up the leads for the case. He goes down to the place he's been told to go to, the Red Cliff, which is a hotel. And finds Kat Hardy there with somebody who he can't see at that particular moment, but he sees the two of them interacting and sees that the guy is kind of trying to put his hands all over Kat. And he uses his spidey webbing to stop him from attacking her, basically, which I love. I love that he will still use his special abilities when he needs to in the world.
Yeah, definitely. I do like the fact here that Janet is the processor for the negatives, and ultimately they see that the person who Kat has been with is the man running for re-election as mayor, Alfred Morris. And so ultimately Carmody gets fobbed off. In a sense, Ben Reilly's thinking this is too much trouble than it's worth, and gives his money back to him. And I love that Janet is not that impressed here, as I was saying, but she comes out with some really good quotes here. She says, "We need that money. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a depression. Pay your secretary." And she goes, "My husband has this annoying habit of wanting food on a daily basis. I need to get paid." So I really like this kind of, I think you described it before, pitter patter, and I think actually I love all the kind of rhythm of the conversations in this episode, and I think at the center of it is just excellent sort of back and forth by Nicolas Cage as Ben Reilly with different people, the woman at the bar, his secretary, with the competing PI, Donegal, you name it. He's just got this really nice sort of tempo to how he, and just the sly, dry wit, which I think probably is another great film noir trope as
I was
well.
thinking that, yeah. I was wondering whether it's takes its inspiration from some of the other screwball comedies, like Some Like It Hot, that kind of stuff, because the patter between him and the other characters around him is a little more comedic than you'd probably see in some of the hard-boiled detective film noirs. So I wonder if they just took inspiration from both, because the writing is so good, but they really make that choice to err on the side of a bit of comedy with Janet and a bit of comedy with Kat.
I think it's deeply laced with irony as well. You know, in all of this stuff, sarcasm and wit, and it really comes across nicely.
Definitely. But also, Janet, on the possibility that she might be able to get some money and some pay, does encourage Ben to go off and maybe blackmail
maybe
Hardy.
we can just blackmail her. Great stuff, Janet.
If she's sleeping with the mayor, maybe she'll pay out,
loads of scruples.
So we do get our introduction to Kat Hardy in the best way. Him going down to her club, sitting in the audience while she comes out to sing her song, her kind of intro, I guess, which is where she does her version of Dream a Little Dream. And again, in that interview with the director of photography, he was saying that this was filmed like a video for that single, as if it was released in the 1930s, and watching it both ways in color and black and white looks fantastic. And interestingly, in her kind of additional lyrics to the song, her kind of breakdown, they actually include the line from the black and white to the colorful, you'll be watching me kind of thing. So they are telling you should be watching it in both. Yes. Watch it twice, everybody.
Absolutely. No, I mean, that interpretation, I think, of that song, I thought was really, really good. I think I've seen it 3 times now, and I just really like the interpretation. I like the style of it. I really enjoy the performance of Lee Jun Lee as Kat Hardy doing it. It's really so well done, and it's a little bit different. And now that you say it, they do make a thing of it. So yeah, this was a great little sequence of her coming onto stage and performing "Dream a Little Dream." It was it was really good. The other thing that we do see here as well is we get throughout the episode so far, there has been the talk of Silvermane, this crime boss whose house has been burnt down. And here we see Silvermane in the club, in the alcove, and Ben Reilly trying to avoid him, because I think him and Donegal have realized that the man who has hired them is the sort of right-hand man for this crime boss. Yeah, lots of danger there for them when Ben sees Silvermane. I think he runs straight to the phone to call Donegal to try and warn him that the person that they took the case from is Silvermane. Just one other thing I want to mention about Kat Hardy. Anybody that knows the comic books will know one of the major characters in the comics, and one of Peter Parker's love interests was Felicia Hardy, who's Black Cat. So having Kat Hardy, I think, is that reference. We've mentioned a lot of these kind of alternate universe takes of major characters in Marvel. They'll do this. They'll drop in characters that have similar names to the current characters. It's always fun finding out whether they're going to be the same in the past or in a different universe, or are they going to be slightly different. So here, Kat Hardy is slightly different, a singer in a club, but has the same kind of sensual love interest that Felicia Hardy played with loads in the Spider-Man comic book. So I kind of love that idea that you'd have her being this femme fatale, because that would be the position that Felicia Hardy would play as well, I'd say. Definitely. Yeah, very cool. And again, lots of name dropping here of characters. And as you're hearing the names, you're going, oh, I know that character from the comic books. I wonder how it's going to play out here in the show. Which does bring us to our next web shot, John. Yes, web shot number 4. Silvermane, the big shot in town. Now, I don't think they're going to take a huge amount of inspiration from the Android version of Silvermane that's in Spider-Man comics, but they do take inspiration from him being the big boss man, a member of the, I think it's the Magia in Marvel Comics, who are the Mafia, or the organized crime boss. It was here played by Brendan Gleeson, with, I would say, his most accurate Dublin accent that we've heard him use on screen. He normally has much more of a received pronunciation
Irish accent. You can definitely tell he's always Irish. But,
yeah, absolutely.
This time he sounds like someone that lives down the road from us. Like, he's very much got his Dublin accent on.
Yeah, absolutely. And it immediately evokes someone who has risen from, the streets, the dirt, sort of poverty, whatever, from an immigrant family.
Exactly.
And has made it big, through sheer will, through craftiness, or pure luck or intelligence, whatever it might be. And I really, really enjoy Brendan Gleeson's take here as Silvermane, because I think it's one of those characters that, ultimately is just the big boss. And I think the big boss does have to, assuming that, as you say, the name and the character isn't going to take inspiration from the sort of android, then it's got to compete against superheroes.
Yes.
There is that hint, that suggestion that he's after Addison. And yes, he might just kill him, but I think there's more to it than that. He's kind of enthralled by the notion that he does have powers.
Yes, absolutely.
And he's wanting a piece of that because he knows what that means for his business.
Yeah.
And I really like just how that comes across, just more about like with the narrowing of the eyes. Even in probably one of the, the more brutal parts of this episode, where you have his two goons beating up the PI Donegal, who's gone to ask for way more money than he should have done, and they already know that Addison is dead. He's tied to a chair, he's been beaten seemingly to death.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, these guys are such idiots that they're like, sorry, boss, the guy's dead. We went too far. And then...
But Silvermane is not entirely convinced by this explanation, so just plunges his little dagger that comes from his cane into his Donegal's hand, which arouses him from his basically unconscious, knocked out state. I think for me, what's really fantastic about this scene, though, is Brendan Gleeson has Silvermane talking to Donegal. It's almost like a soothing parent, as he takes his life.
Yeah.
It's like, that's all I need to know. And then you'll be able to go. It's just that to be able to go is you will go to your death.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's also soothing. Almost, it's not sinister at all, almost. Okay, Donegal is barely conscious, but it's all this kind of soothing, encouraging words for him to sort of give up something. Even when he says, I don't know anything more, he's like, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. Just before he slits his throat. I just think this is really, really good because it feels, it's not entirely the same, but it's just that understated malevolence. It's almost like you would get from Hannibal Lecter in a sense.
Absolutely.
Just so good. But knowing that underneath the hood is, this desperately psychotic and violent individual.
Yeah. Yeah. And that leads us to kind of what I presume will be the overarching case and investigation for the show, where it's revealed that what Silvermane really wants, the information that he really needs, is who hired Addison to burn down his house and try to kill him because he got very close to killing Silvermane. Yeah. So that's kind of the overarching one. We have loads of cases that are coming Ben Reilly's way, as we've seen. Loads of things are appearing at his front door. But the overarching piece seems to be who hired Addison to get into Silvermane's house and burn it down.
And also from Silvermane here, you have, he's done this to me. I want to know who it is and why. But it's also, I've never felt more alive. Like, this has almost reignited his enthusiasm for what he does because, but it's like, despite what he's done, he's made me feel more alive than I have done in, a number of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably 5 years.
Well, yes, exactly.
Spider was around.
So that was a nice little touch as well.
Absolutely. That's probably enough of Silvermane, because we're going to talk about him loads as the series goes on, I'm sure. Let's talk about our final web shot then, John. Our web shot 5 is, well, the Sandman.
Yes.
A different type of Sandman in the Marvel Universe than the one that we talked about for 2 seasons on TV Podcast Industries, John. Same name as the Sandman that we've seen in the MCU, though. Flint Marko is here. So, again, a great one if you're paying attention and you hear Kat call out for Flint to come over. If you didn't know Sandman was going to appear, you do the second you hear his name. And he's Kat's bodyguard.
Yeah, and so he is kind of given the wink and the nod from Kat to, after effectively being blackmailed by a PI. So it's not the best of looks, I guess.
Yeah.
And she tells Flint with a nod and a wink to tail Ben Reilly as he leaves. I do like the fact that they end up at the top of a skyscraper that's being constructed.
Yep.
I'm not entirely sure that was 100% necessary, but ultimately,
cool,
yeah, no, it is. It's very cool. But I think Flint Marko is effectively asking for the negatives off Ben Reilly, and there's a real good scrap at the top of the skyscraper under construction. I love that Flint Marko, in trying to intimidate Ben Reilly, is has him teetering off the edge of the skyscraper. And Ben Reilly says, "Well, it's funny. I'm just not that afraid of heights."
Yeah.
But we do get a nice little moment where he does get knocked, or he is pushed off the top of the skyscraper, and he whips his way back up to the top.
He does.
Of which Flint Marko does see that, and you see the realization that here's someone else in a similar position to him.
Yeah.
Or actually, here is the Spider.
Well, yeah.
And again, the fight that breaks out ratchets up a bit, really, here with the knowledge that they're both superpowered.
Yeah, and one of the little touches I do like is, Ben Reilly hasn't been the Spider for quite a while, so when he lands back up after whipping himself back up to the roof, he doesn't land daintily like the Spider would, does he? Kind of falls over, but they get into that fight.
Lands on his face,
he does.
think, yeah.
He does. But Flint Marko's skin starts to turn to sand, and he starts creating weapons out of his fists, just like Sandman in the comics does. So they have a big kind of battle. This looks great again. Another one that looks great in color and black and white, in color, you can really see the kind of stony, sandy face, that he gets. In black and white, it does look, unnatural and different, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
The way they've done it. So really cool. But the Spider basically is winning the battle until Kat comes in and tells him to break it up, basically. Leave him alone and just leave.
Yeah, basically pleads with Ben to leave Flint alone. And Ben kind of, in the moment, gives the negatives, chucks them onto Flint Marko and gives Kat the negatives of her and the mayor. I do like we have Janet getting annoyed as Kat then arrives the next day at Ben Reilly's offices, because Janet's not getting paid, so she is threatening to quit here. But Kat arrives to give him and Janet a job, which is to find her bodyguard Flint Marko, who has then disappeared since yesterday evening.
Exactly. Yes. She's basically being told by Janet that Ben is retiring. I do love Ben's reaction to Janet as well, going, "That's my aunt's lamp. She gave it to me when she died," which I think is really funny as she's packing up everything in the office for herself. Really good. But yes, Kat's there to hire him to look for Marko, who's disappeared. Yeah. So
whilst he doesn't get the blackmail cash, he does get a $50 retainer and $10 per day plus expenses in order to start on the case to find Flint Marko.
Exactly. So an interesting setup for the next episode as well.
Definitely.
good stuff. John, any notes about the episode that you want to mention that we haven't talked about?
Yeah, just one. I in the prologue bit at the start, I do like he has a reference or Into the Spider-Verse, where Ben Reilly, as the Spider, sort of in voiceover says, someone once asked me what universe I'm from, which I found strange, as this universe is the only one I know.
Exactly.
So, again, just a nice little touch to Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah. I love that opening prologue as well. I love the idea that we have the show opening with Spidey swinging through the streets of New York, because it's the one image that you always want them to get right when they're doing live action Spider-Man, isn't it? Having Spidey swinging through the streets of New York. And since we're not going to get that in the show because he's retired as the Spider, open up the show with it, right? It looks incredible in black and white. It looks great in color, having that as your opening scene. And then we hear the famous line that we used at the beginning here of, my wife once told me that with great power comes great responsibility. Yeah. And then she died, which is the fault of the Spider. So I gave up the power and gave up the responsibility. So yeah, love that as the opening setting, the prologue for the show. And then that's 1928, and the show's set in 1933. So a little bit of a jump over one decade to the other. That's what we see as well. So yeah, love that in the start. I think that's it for our chat all about the first episode of Spider-Noir. So John, do you defend this episode of Spider-Noir? Come into my office.
I really do defend this episode, Step Into My Office. I give it 5 inky investigations out of 5. Yeah, I just love the whole feel and vibe. I think Nicolas Cage is absolutely fantastic here as Ben Reilly, PI detective who can't hold down a case. I love his suffering secretary, Janet, who is more than a secretary, as a partner. Yes. Really enjoy that relationship.
She's really the manager for the whole place. Nothing would run without her.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the dialogue here, centered around Nicolas Cage, is just superb. Whether it's with Kat Hardy, who's Dream a Little Dream Song, a great intro for her. I love that we see Addison as the Human Torch. We see Flint Marko as the Sandman in this first episode. We're introduced to Silvermane and his own assistant, Winston. And I think, so far the sequences are really good. The fight between Flint and Ben at the top of the skyscraper under construction is really good. Some real creepy stuff with Brendan in terms of his kill on Donegal. And yeah, overall, absolutely enjoyed this first episode of Spider-Noir. 5 inky investigations out of 5 for me.
Fantastic.
So Derek, do you defend this episode of Spider-Noir?
Absolutely. The proof is in the pudding. We wouldn't be covering Spider-Noir if this episode wasn't as good as it was. We absolutely had no intention of covering another 8-episode show, especially one that dropped all episodes on the same day. But sitting down and watching this for the first time, by the end of it, both of us were just smiling like kids, going, this is something brand new that we've not seen in this universe before. And really exciting. Nicolas Cage doing a fantastic job.
Definitely.
When he does that, it's hard not to like it, isn't it?
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Absolutely defend this. Loved this episode. I want to hear the thoughts of our wonderful fellow defenders as well. I know it's getting really good ratings. Lots of people very surprised by what's come out of it. So make sure you do email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com with your thoughts, or pop on over to our Facebook group or to Discord to leave your thoughts on the spoiler posts over there. Coffee and Vodka did send in his feedback on the first 2 episodes together, so we'll have his feedback on the next episode. But we did get some feedback in from Dr. Bob on Discord, who says, this is how you open a detective noir. How not to follow it is to drop the entire season straight afterwards. Beautifully shot, classically, mildly overacted, even Cage, fantastic music and gorgeous set. The storyline matches too. Enough of the dime store simplicity to make the show a feast for the eyes and an easy read for the brain.
Indeed it is. Yep. Excellent stuff. Thanks, Dr. Bob.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dr. Bob. Yeah, love your thoughts there, and looking forward to hearing your thoughts throughout the rest of the season. Thank you all so much for joining us for our first episode of Spider-Noir. We will be back next time with episode 2, Tread Lightly, later on in the week, so we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, fellow defenders, for joining us for our impromptu coverage of Spider-Noir. Until Spider-Noir episode 2, hot shots. Keep watching, keep listening, and of course, keep defending with a bit of whipping.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye.